Welcome to the Momentum Lifestyle Podcast, where we interview an inspiring, educational, and entertaining guest to help you build confidence, find balance, and live a life of impact. We'd like to thank our sponsor today, Be Spunky. Now, Blake, Janelle, and myself have been using their Reboot product for well over 6 months now, and it has been life-changing. I found myself recovering faster, having way more energy throughout the day, and honestly feeling just more jacked up as a man. And this is because Reboot is clinically formulated to support healthy male hormone levels, providing stress relief, improved strength and stamina, enhanced drive, and overall well-being. Be Spunky Reboot contains a proprietary blend of 10 natural and organic herbs and active ingredients that are renowned for helping men to enhance physical and cognitive performance, improve stamina, energy, and endurance, optimize testosterone levels, support healthy reproductive function, support cardiovascular function, relieve stress, mild anxiety, irritability, relieve tiredness, fatigue, support healthy sleep patterns, and support healthy body weight. So as you can see, it is a must-have product for all men. So head to their website, bespunky.com.au, that's bespunki.com.au, and use the code MOMENTUM to receive 10% off all Be Spunky products.
Garrain Jones, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Mate,
We made it.
Yes, we've done it. We've done it. Mate, I want to start with your story, which I find fascinating, and I've heard you kind of talk about it a few different times with a few different people, but it's a brilliant story and super insightful and super inspiring. So for those that don't know you or your work, can you give a little history of where you were once upon a time and where you are now?
I mean, it's such a loaded answer I can give, but I'll tell you this. I found myself in many situations where I've had to pretty much dig myself out of a hole where I hit rock bottom. I hit the rock bottom of all rock bottoms for me in my own life. And there was a time where I was in prison serving a 12-year sentence, got out in 2.5 years. And then there was also another time 10 years later where I was living in my car for 2.5 years. But the deepest of them all, and I'm sure we'll touch on the whole prison thing, but the deepest of them all was in 2011, roughly $250,000 in debt. Tried to take my life twice, 40 pounds overweight. Mom was dying in the hospital. Girlfriend had just broken up with me. There was just a lot of things. When it rains, it pours. And that's when it happened, when I hit my rock bottom. And then one day, I just screamed out. I said, okay, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to fight anymore. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to be surrounded by nothing but positive people. I just want to inspire people. And I want to make a bunch of money, but I want the money to represent something that I passionately believe in, that I would do for free. Just show me a sign. I didn't know what that sign was, so like a week later, I'm at a gas station, and a homeless guy, quote unquote, came up to me and asked me for money. And I said, you have more money than me. And he said, change your mindset, change your life. And I don't know what it was about those words, but I never had a set of words stop me in my tracks and make me think about the whole trajectory of my life. And then I said, if I do the same things the same way, then that's why I'm getting the same results. So if I do different with the same circumstance, my life will change. So I just kept saying, change your mindset, change your life. Change your mindset, change your life. And I trained myself how to do the opposite of everything that I would normally do in areas of my life where I wasn't happy. Now, because of that philosophy, from 2011 to now 2022, every day I find a reason to do something I don't want to do. And that philosophy has garnered me to show up in a way where I've attracted the most prominent lifestyle that I could have never seen in my past, that has surpassed my wildest dreams, living in a big house in Austin, Texas, married to the love of my life, relationship with my daughter, love my mom. My mom's still healthy, part of the 2 Comma Club. You don't know what that is. They tell me I'm a multi-millionaire, have some successful businesses, impacted millions of people all over the world. And that's because of all those changes I've made while doing the opposite. And now we're here.
There's plenty to unpack there. What had you in prison? And I don't know how, when people ask you that, how that feels in your body, because it's a while ago, but and whether there's a complete level of peace or whether you've still got stuff around there. But what had you in prison for what was meant to be 12 years, but end up being 2.5?
Well, I'll tell you this. People will hear my prison story. They're like, damn, man, glad I never went to prison. But then they've been at a job for 10 years that they don't like and they stay there. My friend, that's still prison. You're married to somebody you know damn well you don't want to be married to, and you stay in that relationship because your childhood boy attachment issues, you are in prison. So when I share about prison, I want you to think about some area in your life that you just can't seem to have, that you haven't seemed to have let go of, and then it'll help you relate to my story much, much better. So while I was in prison, before I even got there, I used to always say when I was free, I feel like I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be. Like I'm in prison inside of my own body. Go figure. All of a sudden, I'm so far away from where I'm supposed to be. In Europe. In prison. So I found out that I had manifested that, because if you keep telling yourself something over and over and over and you believe it, life becomes plastic according to the thoughts that you give the most wrapped power to. And I didn't know that. This is connecting the dots looking backwards. So I got busted for trying to smuggle 6.2 kilos of heroin going from London over to the ferry to Rotterdam. And I did that route like 7 times. On the 8th time, I got caught going into France. And they sentenced me to 12 years. And I'll tell you, in losing my freedom, that's where I found my freedom. When I had all the things stripped away from me, where I felt like everything is being taken away from me, it was what I now know is the universal reminder of everything that you just gave power to shouldn't have your power. So I'm going to remove everything so that you could be reminded of where the power belongs to begin with. And so while I was in prison, I was reminded that I was the one that I've been looking for this entire time. And it took prison to get me by myself so that I could be alone with my crazy thoughts, so that they could settle down and be like, oh, I'm going crazy because I'm not in touch with myself. And honestly, all these people that are in a pandemic and they're on lockdown are going crazy for that same reason, because they're not in touch with their true selves. They're in touch with all this other stuff outside of them. No prison should ever take you away from you. But when you have you will have the greatest sense of freedom. That's what I learned while I was in prison.
And I like it a lot. People are looking for, as you said, freedom, realizing that the number one freedom that they don't have is their own sense of self and locked in their own minds.
And even all these people fighting for freedom, and they put all this aggressive energy, they're taking away my freedom. Like, no. You took away your freedom because you gave your power away. When you have the power to possess your own mind, there's your freedom right there. Nobody can take that away from you. I found it while I was in prison.
It's your work in terms of the mindset, and we're going to go into the inner child and the artist in a sec, but you, as much as anyone, realize the significance of the mindset that gets you into prison and into your car for 2.5 years, and how much needs to change from a mindset point of view in order to create the life that you've created now in the space of 11 years. When you hear change your mindset, change your life, what does that look like at rock bottom? Because you don't overnight become a millionaire mindset. Like what's the small changes that happen in that first period that started to help you build momentum to the life that you've
Yeah.
created for yourself now?
So here's what's really cool. I didn't even know those changes were happening. So
Mm.
you can't see the picture while you're in the frame. So when I was in the frame of my past, I just started doing the opposite and different things happened. But here's where I started. Normally I would take the escalator. Change your mindset, change your life. So then I started taking the stairs. Normally I would use gel soap. Change your mindset, change your life. So I would use bar soap. Normally I would drink soda pop. Dr. Pepper, Crush, Orange Crush, change your mindset, change your life. So I started drinking water. Normally, I was eating unhealthy food. So I trained myself to start eating healthy food.
Mm.
So building all these daily wins of opposites, of things that were simple for me to do. Well, an object in motion stays in motion. So I just kept doing that. But I didn't know that I was training myself. And the more and more you keep doing something over and over and over, it eventually evolves over time. It's kind of like ABCs. You don't think you're not still doing the ABCs? No, that's the running program. That's the ground. That's the grounding foundation of every word that comes out of your mouth.
Mm.
It's just still running. And it's still running, and then it eventually turns into words, eventually turns into sentences, eventually turns into paragraphs, essays, books, libraries, but the ABCs are still running. So the opposite of me doing different was the foundation of me changing my life without me even knowing it. That's still running the program right now, but just like ABCs evolves over time, change evolves over time, you do it long enough. So because I kept doing the opposite every day, I don't feel like waking up. So I'm going to get up. I don't feel like hanging out with this person that wanted to meet up. So I'm going to meet up. Oh my God, I just found a random lottery ticket for $10,000 right there when I was going to the meetup. So it's like on the other side of what you would never do, there lies the door to more. But most people don't do what they would never do. They do what their habitual behavior controls them to do.
For a lot of people, there's almost that disassociation of look where he is now, and they
Yeah.
forget where you've come from, because often that's also a reason for them to like disassociate and buy into their own story. But what does it look like for you over a 10-year period? Because that's like, the overnight success for so many people is a 10-year process. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and often it's not a linear, like here I started to make this one change and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it went perfect. What did that kind of roller coaster look like for you over the last 10 years?
Well, I'll tell you. So this is why I always tell my story. People are like, yo, why do you always tell your story when you go on these podcasts? Because people will hear my success and then they'll easily bypass all these things without knowing where I started and steps that I took to get to where I am now. This is why I always say it, because I know how people just bypass everything. So for me, if you've eaten unhealthy your whole life, that comes with certain habits. That comes with certain results. And then all of a sudden, you find you a healthy, active lifestyle community. You start doing personal growth when you never ever did it. You start reading books when you never ever did it. And then you start to get healthy, and then you lose 30 pounds, and then you support your mom in losing 90 pounds, and then your mom, who had a year to live, is still alive 11 years later, and you start seeing how a change in action, or a change in the thought process that leads to the action that produces a different result over a period of time, but the result makes you feel better about yourself. You tend to gravitate towards what's energetically being paid attention to, kind of like the flower gravitates towards the sun. So when I'm no longer paying attention to my old habits, my old thoughts, my old diet, when I'm not paying attention to it, then I'm not gravitating towards it. So just by me training myself and getting excited by doing the opposite, I got happy and I got addicted to a new process. I got addicted to being healthy. I got addicted to reading books. I got addicted to learning about business and then teaching other people how to learn about business. I got addicted to sharing my story. So everybody's going to have an addiction. People are like, I don't have an addiction. Everybody has an addiction. If you brush your teeth every day, that is addiction. It's a healthy form of an addiction, but it's an addiction. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred. So you can figure out how to transfer enough of that energy in directions of your life where you want to head. You will start to notice gradual changes. And one thing that I prided myself off of is that I didn't let one result go by without me recognizing it. Most people don't acknowledge the effort. They're so looking for the big result that they miss all the little mini results in between. I'm so glad I woke up this morning. I'm so grateful. So grateful that I'm drinking healthy smoothies. I'm so grateful that I made more money this month than I have in the last 10 years because I've been broke for 10 years. But I learned how to celebrate myself and see myself. And what that taught me was the way in which I saw myself, that's how the world saw me. And I'm like, oh. So when I felt like a nothing, when I felt like a nobody, people would treat me like a nobody. But when I felt like a somebody inside of my own self, and I would look in the mirror and say, damn, Garrain, I'm really proud of you. You really stuck it to him this month. You really did what you said you were going to do. And results don't get to go by without me acknowledging you. When I learn how to do that and see myself as such a valuable, rare commodity, which I am, it's interesting how money, my love life, business, friendships, and a myriad of other things matched me. Because we're the most powerful magnet in the world. But if you don't see that, then everything's happening to you. But if you do see that, you can see that everything's happening for you. And if you know that everything's happening for you, then make it work for you, not against you.
I'm glad you share your story, because one of the things, and I don't know if this resonates with you in your struggles, but I'm sure you've had, plenty of people say this to you, is when you're struggling, and I've had a rock bottom, not quite as bad as yours, but pretty kind of dark at the same time, is one of the things that helped me move through that was hope. And one of the things that gave me hope was stories like yours, Tony Robbins' story, Lewis Howe's stories, even a lot of the boys in your world up in the US, like that's the reminder of what's possible. So, brother, I'm glad you share your story, because, and I'm sure you've had plenty of feedback, but when it feels like there's no hope, and then there's the reminder of people that also felt that way and found their way out, then there's evidence, and the brain needs evidence. There's evidence of what's possible as well. So I'm glad you share it everywhere.
People listen to who they can relate to. I don't listen to people when they tell me those things, because my first messages I received from people after sharing my story, very first message I ever received after sharing my testimony was from someone who said, I put the gun down when I read your testimony. Thank you for your strength. In that moment, I knew what my mission is to tap into the untappable, to be the voice of the voiceless. I knew that without a shadow of a doubt. So I know my audience. My audience wants to hear the real and raw, and they want to see somebody they can relate to, so that it gives them a permission slip to go even further. So I 100%, it lands with me what you were sharing.
You talk a lot about the inner child and the artist. What is the inner child, and how do you live your life as an artist?
Okay, so check this out. So I want you to imagine like a little kid. You ask any little kid when they're like 4 or 5 year old, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a rocket star. I want to be an NBA player. It's always something massive. You've never heard a child ever say, I want to work a 9-to-5 job out of security and fear to get paid less than my value. Never. So somewhere in between, I want to be a princess or a rock star or a rocket ship. That child either didn't get acknowledgement, they didn't get support, and somewhere they probably got talked about and they gave up hope. And so when I realized where the original abandonment comes from, sometimes people are like, oh, my dad abandoned me. That's why abandoned me. That's why I have abandonment issues. Or my mom abandoned me. They don't even realize that they manifested that abandonment because the first original abandonment is when you left what you were brought to this earth for. I always wanted to be a superhero. I wanted to be stronger than the average man, have abs like an action figure, and save and change lives all over the world. You know what I do right now? I'm stronger than the average man. I have abs like an action figure, and I save and change lives all over the world. On the surface, it looks like a book, a retreat, men's empowerment, all these different things. But inside of me is little Garrain, who's living out what he's always wanted to do. So I call the little kid in you the artist. It's not just about painting or drawing or dancing or singing. You're an artist of your life. And how you direct your life is what it's creating. So I call artist power is when you tap into the essence of that little kid inside of you that has gifts that you came over to this earth for. Your parents didn't give you your gifts. It's like a USB. You already come over into this world with it. My goal is to teach people how to show you where your life is draining energy, and then find somewhere inside of you where you have natural born gifts that is going to recycle energy into the planet, into humanity, into yourself, because you're operating off of a natural power that's inside of you. Your childhood gifts, the thing that used to spark joy, that made you so happy, that is a streamline of consciousness, of infinite wisdom. And when you tap into that, which is what I call artist power. So artist is the little kid inside of you that has all these gifts. But when you use those gifts, it accesses a completely different power. That is what I call artist power. And that's why I say my goal is to teach people how to awaken their inner artist or awaken the artist within, because it's connected to everything that you do. And you see some of these people out there. They're like, oh, I'm tired. I'm tired after I get off a stage with 50,000 people. Then you see some of these people that can just keep going and going and going. Watch little kids when they're playing on the playground. They never get tired. I know how to teach people how to tap into that power of the artist that's inside of you so that you can use that power to make a difference in the world.
When I think about I resonate with that way too much. When I think about someone who's tired, you've got your kind of standard, like, well, are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you exercising? But one of the things I've seen more and more over the last kind of 3 to 5 years, where my head goes now, similar to you, just coming at it from a different angle of like, are you true to yourself? And are you aligned with what is true to you in terms of your passion, the people around you? Like, are you really true to yourself, or are you living kind of a version of yourself that's doing the 9 to 5 that like feels soulless? And similar to you, when you are aligned with your passion, you can wake up tired, but find energy. Like I can wake up, a little bit kind of tired, but I find energy in what I do. How do you help someone start to bring that to life? I assume awareness of self is a big part, but what does that process look like as you start to kind of bring someone more authentic and aligned to that kind of inner artist?
Well, I always ask people, what did you used to do when you were 5? What did you used to do when you were 5 years old that made you the happiest, that you don't do anymore? Oh, I used to love to dance. How did it make you feel when you danced? Oh, it made me feel so free. And I was like, and you haven't danced in 20 years? No, and I've got a job, I got the husband, I got the money, whatever, I got everything, but I just feel like something is missing. I said, do you have any kids? He said, yes. Okay, cool. So I want you to imagine your daughter comes up to you and says, Mom, 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 Dad, Dad, Mom, Mom, for 20 years. What do you think the relationship would be like? And they're like, there wouldn't be a relationship. I'm like, why? Because there wouldn't be any emotional closure. Their needs wouldn't get met. So I want you to imagine the things that used to make you really happy, that you've abandoned, that you left. I want you to imagine every day or every time you get the urge and you think about, oh man, I used to love to dance. I want you to think about that's your inner child. That's the little artist inside of you, that little kid inside of you saying, Mom, 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 Dad, Dad. And you ignore that child for 20 years. It does the same thing inside of your body that it would the little kid that you didn't nourish with a relationship. So there's a subtraction from the physical and the spiritual because the inner child is the spiritual context of you. That's where your thoughts, your ideas, your creativity, like all of it derives from there, in my opinion. And I said, so when you don't honor it, that would be the same as if you don't listen to a little kid and a little kid has finally made good grades on their report card and they bring the report card home. And then all of a sudden, 10 days goes by, then you finally say, oh, hey, congratulations. That little kid is defeated. Well, guess what? Your soul is defeated when you don't honor the things that actually make you happy. Like you have this big, beautiful heart for a reason, so you don't use it. Then you start overcompensating in all these other areas in your life. We don't want overcompensation. I know one of the richest people I knew in LA put a bullet into his brain because he had everything but himself. He was overcompensating with the girls, with the job, with the money, because he didn't have himself. And I don't stand for overcompensation. I see somebody with a lot of money, but they're 500 pounds. And I'm not talking about making fun of 500-pound people, but there isn't an overcompensation somewhere because there's no balance to life. And everything is about how do you restore nature? When things are out of balance, it causes chaos. It causes an overflow of something. So in this context is getting the person aware of what could be happening by not honoring what sparks joy, which derives from the heart. And with awareness, then you can do something. Okay, sign up for a dance class. This doesn't need to have anything to do with your business or anything. Sign up for a dance class this week. Call me after your dance class. They start doing a dance class and then activating and building trust and integrity within their physical and spiritual. Next thing you know, 90 days from now, they're like, oh my God, I haven't felt this sexy in a long time. My husband, he's like, we're having better sex than ever. I'm starting to make more money than ever. And then all this, why? Because life's not happening to you, it's responding to you. So when you pour into that big, beautiful heart of yours and that big, beautiful soul of yours, it's going to respond, not in a way of rejection, but in a way of abundance. And whatever the health of the seed determines the growth of the tree and the fruit that it produces. Your life's results is the fruit of how you teach yourself, of how you treat yourself.
I love it. I love it when you get going. What's blocking people's joy and heart? And I don't know if this resonates with you, but one of the things that really, again, we kind of have a similar message from a very different angle, but so many people have just bought into the system and not questioned what is true to them. What for you has people so disconnected from their heart, joy, and truth?
Safety. People will show up more for safety than they will for their own internal. So even if you believe something, say for instance, I believe, I won't get too crazy in here, but I believe a certain thing, right? And you're surrounded by 300 people who don't believe that. Most people in the world will shift their beliefs to fit in to the environment that they feel the most safe. I've just never been like that. Even when I was a little kid, I'd always ask questions that most kids wouldn't ask. And my mom was like, "Why do you ask that? Mom, why is the sky blue?" I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. Why is the sky blue? I said, where does the rain come from? Well, the book said, well, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why? Like, why? Okay. And I would always ask why. And my hard headedness was ultimately little Garrain fighting for his own freedom, at least to think for himself. So right now I think for myself, and I think it's been so beautiful because I've traveled to like 75 countries and I've got to experience the media everywhere, and everywhere is different. So I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Most people haven't traveled like that, and they don't have that experience of being having a world view. And I do. But I'll tell you what blocks them is the notion of safety and childhood domestication. A lot of this stuff happens, I feel, in my opinion, deliberately to children, and the results that happen to children isn't the ultimate result. It's what's happening to us as adults right now, which was the ultimate goal that was planted when we were like 5. In cartoons, in songs, and all of that is, I'm telling you, the smartest thing I ever do is turn off the TV. I turned off the smart TV. I turned off the smart TV because I was becoming dumber. And then once I turned that TV off, I actually became smart. Every time I turn off my smartphone, it's because I become dumber. I feel diluted and stressed. I turn off my smartphone, I become smart. Because my real thoughts come to arise and not everybody else's all at one time. So I think it is the weapons of mass distraction that has happened to us since we were little kids. And when we get all of that exposure from every single angle, we don't know what thought is ours, our grandmothers, our moms. So sometimes I pride myself on getting in trouble a lot because I didn't ever listen to authority. And I got in trouble. I got kicked out of school. You never listen. You never listen. You never listen. And I still don't, because I got this heart for a reason that'll tell me. So I think scarcity, fear, distraction, and safety are the 4 main ingredients that keep people inside of that little bubble, kind of like a little dog that has the shock collar on its neck. It's invisible to the eye, but it goes, you get close enough, bam. You do that enough times, even when you take the shock collar off, the dog will never go past the beaten path. This is what happens to humans, and I feel it's deliberate.
Couldn't agree with you more. What do you've just had a newborn? What do you do differently that some might deem unconventional, but I think is very healthy? What do you do in terms of protecting their state of mind and having them not domesticated and following the main narrative or following suit with the majority? How do you do parenting different?
One, we don't give our daughter a screen so we can keep her occupied so that we can do what we're doing. We just find different ways to connect with our daughter that keeps her engaged, and we keep her engaged with one thing and not like 20 things. And so there's that one thing where you can sit down in it and it has 10 different objects, something that lights up, something that makes a noise, something that does this. And when we first got it, I was like, this looks like early sign of teaching a kid how to be distracted. So if you're not giving them something to focus on, then you're giving them some things to focus on. If they focus on too many things at one time, they never get anything done. So when we give her something, we give her one thing. She spent more time with a Kleenex for an hour and a half. Just with a Kleenex. But she's focused on one thing. We don't give her many things at one time. She'll be like, okay, let me get this, let me give you this phone, let me give you this thing to get the baby to shut up. No, we up our game. It's like, how can we listen to what she's requesting? And the biggest thing is being the example. People don't do what you say, they do what they see. When we go work out, we put her in the workout. I'm going to show you a picture right now. We put her in the workout gym with us. I'm going to show you this picture. And this is my wife drinking water. Look what my daughter's doing.
So good.
On the treadmill, watching. She's on the treadmill watching.
So good.
So she's down, it's like a USB. She's downloading everything. When we argue, because all partners argue. We argue and then we go straight to baby soul. We say, baby soul, this is not your fault. Even though she may not be conscious, she can understand everything. And then when she gets conscious, all she's doing is training herself for the kind of man she's going to attract or the kind of relationship she's going to attract. So we resolve conflict right in front of her. So she sees what resolving looks like. Most kids don't have that. They like go into another room, whatever, and they never see that. They learn about conflict, resolving conflict when they're like 15, and by that time it's too late because it's already been domesticated. She's 5 months old, and we'll have an argument, and then we'll say, baby, it's not your fault. And then we'll put her right there in the carrier. And then we're talking. All of a sudden, she sees the volumes, the levels go down, and then we end with a kiss, we end with a hug, and then we kiss our baby. So those are some things that are some nuggets that we've learned along the way. I didn't have that growing up. So it took me 30 years to redilate my system, which, you know, I get triggers every once in a while, but it's more, the momentum is more towards, you know, how we live our lives. And it's a big one, bro. It is a big one because they're going to get hammered from cartoons. They're going to get hammered from the radio. They're going to get hammered from TikTok. They're going to get hammered all the way. But the first place they get hammered is through mom and dad. So how could we create an environment that is healthy, language-wise, food-wise, spirit-wise, cleanliness-wise, so she at least has a foundation and she knows there's a difference between this and that. We could sit her in front of the TV and we try to get stuff done. No, I'm taking her with me. She's going to go to the gym. I have a call right here. She's right there hearing me on a call. She's seeing daddy work and motivate people. She's seeing mama work and motivate people. You don't think she's not going to be a motivator? We're not telling her, but she's seeing it.
Talking of domestication, Jordan Peterson talks about the masculine and the male these days typifying more of a domesticated cat than a dangerous man who is capable but knows how to control it. One of the things that you guys have got up and running really nicely, I think it might be, 12, 18 months now, is a men's group in Austin.
Yeah.
How do you see empowered? How do you see the masculine as it stands? Where are we potentially weakened? And what do you guys, or what's the intention with Empowered in terms of bringing men together?
I can tell you why it's weakened. And again, this is one of my, you can call it a conspiracy. It's like the way that you disempower the next generation's man is do something to their fathers. All those men that have been incarcerated, all those men that went off to the Army, and this is not taking anything away from the Navy and the Army, but back in the day, it left the little boys at home with their mom. A woman is a woman is a woman is a woman. She can never raise a strong-headed man. She can do her best, but she doesn't know what it's like to be a man, just like I don't know what it's like to be a woman. So you had a lot of stay-at-home moms raising little boys. those little boys are the men that are right now that are raising little boys. And so there was a lot of softness, and then the same of music. So you hear music and you hear certain things, and what they're advertising, without going too deep, they're literally demasculating the men, and they're showing this image, and all the little boys that are growing up are going to be domesticated with that. I'm telling you, all of this seems like an agenda that's just been carried out, and I pay attention to that, and I've never been one to follow that. I was like, yo, this doesn't make sense to me. So for me, for Empowered Brotherhood, is to create a space where men can come and be themselves, to be vulnerable, to feel safe enough to be their real selves. Not the one that puts on the roof for everybody or puts on the mask for everybody, but their real selves, and share what's really on their heart and their mind, and give them practical ways to be able to step out in life and be their true authentic self. Okay? There's that, and then it's creating a new narrative of how man experiences himself and how the world experiences man. That's ultimately what our goal is. And it takes those caliber of men to do that, and it's a big challenge, and we're up for the big challenge. You see more and more, and it's like, oh, yo, this doesn't make sense. You gotta understand there's two systems going on. Two. There's nature system, and then there's man system. Everything that's happening in the world today is in alignment with man system, but it's out of alignment with nature system. Think about bees, think about birds, think about dogs, think about all animals, think about all trees, think about all of nature. You think that we're not a part of that nature? Yes, we are. But we've been given the dignity of choice. So every time we step out of line of nature because of man's system, that's what throws the energies off. That's what throws all of the confusion and everything. Every time we recalibrate and we're in alignment, there will always be peace and flow. There's always peace and flow in nature.
It's been a brilliant chat. We could chat a lot more. But for those that want to find out more about you, what you do, your brilliant work, where's the best place to send them?
So you can go to my website. That's GarrainJones.com. And you can go to my Instagram, which is Garrain.Jones. My book, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life, which is all about the principles and philosophies that I learned while living in my car, going to prison, and how you can apply it to your life and potentially produce extraordinary results. That's on Amazon and in Spanish and English. We're currently working on the audiobook. And on my website, I have a program called Get Unstuck, which is really freaking cool. And it takes a lot of principles, and it's a 7-week formula. And it's on my website now. So definitely check that out. And then the last thing is, you can find me at Empowered Brotherhood. So empoweredbrotherhood.com. We have lots of beautiful things going on in the world, a lot of shadow work, a lot of breath work. We're about to launch our global platform. If you're ever in Austin, come work out with us. It's on the house. It's for free. And then you'll see what we're doing in terms of just truly being a strong support for men in the world.
Mate, I love that. And watching from this side of the world, there's some brilliant leaders that are shaping the men's work and then passing that kind of those skills on to other men who are stepping up into that leadership role as well. So, mate, doing brilliant work and hoping to get over your side of the world next year. But, mate, continue to do what you're doing. It's brilliant. Love your passion. Love the power that you've got, and your message is awesome.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for just having me on, man. It's people like you that are creating a space for stories like mine to have wings, and we need more of it. So thank you for the work that you're doing in the world.
Appreciate it, brother. Cheers for that.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in this week. As always, if you enjoyed listening, please leave a review, give us a shout out across socials, or share with a friend so that we can continue to share these incredible conversations with more and more people.